Good morning, everyone, and welcome. A huge thank you for joining us today for this LinkedIn Live straight from the Take a Seat stage. AI is everywhere, but here is the paradox. The more it spreads, the more questions it raises. As a manager, an engineer, a business leader, you hear about AI daily, its potential, its hype, its promises, but the real question is, how does this actually translate into performance for my team, my factory, my company? The noise is deafening, the roadmap often missing. What if AI isn't just another tool, but the spark of the next industrial revolution? What if it's already reshaping engineering as we know it, from design to maintenance, from productivity to innovation? Today, we cut through the hype, no theory, no buzzwords, just real-world impact. But let's be clear, this isn't just about technology, it's about people. How do we upskill engineers for an AI-powered future? How do we secure it and keep control in a hyper-competitive world? What good is a powerful AI if it doesn't align with your business reality? Welcome to this new Take a Seat conference where AI meets action. Joining us today to discuss this highly timely topic, I'm delighted to welcome Gualtiero Bazzana. Hello, Gualtiero.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for being with us. You are Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer and COMEX member at Alten. We are pleased also to be with Frédéric Pascal. Hello, Frédéric.
Hello, Ariane.
Thank you for being with us. You are Professor at Centrale Supélec, Director of the Data AI Institute and Vice President for AI at Paris-Saclay University. And pleased also to have with us Caroline Lair. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Ariane.
Thank you for being with us. You are a founder of The Good AI and co-founder of Women for AI. Later in the program, we will also have the opportunity to welcome Guillaume Bourg, Head of Enterprise EMEA at Mistral AI. This conference is interactive, so feel free to ask your questions throughout the live in the comments section, and our speakers will be pleased to answer your questions. So let's start with you, Frédéric. Where do we stand today regarding artificial intelligence? What is the technological maturity? And more importantly, where are the main adoption challenges you have identified internationally?
Thank you, Ariane. So actually, I will start with the more importantly, that is adoption. And this is the biggest challenge. I mean, the technology is nowadays quite mature. We talk about generative AI that arises in the society, but also agentic AI. Of course, it remains some bottlenecks like robustness, explainability, trustworthy AI, but for the moment, talk about adoption. And I think the most important for adoption is that people have common vocabulary, common understanding of what is AI. So just to say, I held a national mission for the French Minister of Education, so at the first semester of this year. And I was amazed to see that among the, let's say, more than 30,000 respondents, we asked them, are you using ChatGPT? And 92% of the respondents say, yes, I'm using ChatGPT. But the next question was, are you using generative AI? Only 60% say yes. ChatGPT is the most well-known generative AI model we have in the society today. So you see the difference between the knowledge of generative AI and actually AI and just one buzzword that is ChatGPT, of course, very important model. And I will continue at the international level. So on this survey, we also have many answers from international countries like in the US, Canada, in Europe, Finland, in Asia, Singapore, or Taiwan. And for the adoption, what we saw is that the country where the AI is the more adopted in companies and especially in SMEs, was in Finland. And what is amazing on that point is that Finland is the first country where AI training has been done for all the society, all the people. So I would say that there is a very strong connection between training, education, and then adoption.
Interesting, and thank you for sharing with us the results of this survey you did. Gualtiero, in this context of AI maturity and adoption challenges, how is Alten positioned as an engineering consulting firm to address these issues within the industrial sector?
Well, as you said in your introduction, it's very important that AI is aligned with the strategic objectives of a company. So, to make a long story short, Alten is a technological consulting company. We are today over 60,000 employees in more than 30 countries. And our DNA is we are an engineering company. It means that our customers are the biggest industrial companies in whatever sector, from aerospace and defense to energy, from automotive to telecom. And our employees are mainly engineers. We define ourselves as the house of engineers. So our AI program tries to address these two dimensions, the dimension of a customer, the dimension of internal activities. We have set up a worldwide program which covers three main pillars. The first one, we call it AI for project productivity. It means infusing AI within the project that we do for our customer. The second one, we call it AI offers and go-to-market, is again for our customer to define and bring to them new ways of working, new offers. So business as usual on one side and I would say new things on the other one. And third, very important, using AI internally to improve the productivity of our processes and to upskill our engineers. So in this context, today, Alten is addressing both the go-to-market part and the internal part. And of course, we need to have partners to do that. We recognize that AI is going so quickly. There are many challenges, many items to address, from technology to governance, from innovation to training. And so we have decided to ally with some strategic partners. One of them, and the most important one for our AI for engineering go-to-market, is Mistral, with whom we have defined and we are bringing on quite solid partnerships, which is oriented really to bring AI in the world of engineering, which for us means R&D, supply chain, and manufacturing.
Thank you, Gualtiero. You just mentioned this partnership between Alten and Mistral AI. Before we continue this conversation, I would like you to hear from Guillaume Bourg. You know Guillaume very well. He's head of enterprise at Mistral AI. He couldn't be with us today, but we had the chance to meet him in his headquarters in Paris. Let's watch his interview. Hello, Guillaume.
Hello, Ariane.
Thank you very much for welcoming us in your offices in Paris. You are head of enterprise sales EMEA at Mistral AI, one of the leading AI companies worldwide. How do you position yourselves today against American and Chinese giants? What are your key differentiators to compete with players that have far greater resources?
As of today, Mistral AI is the best alternative for large enterprises who want to access cutting-edge AI technology at the best cost possible. The models that we provide are the most efficient on the market, which means that for a given level of performance, when compared to other models, they are way smaller, hence faster and cheaper. The second topic is that most of our models come under open source license, which means they are free of use by the community and other research labs. Eventually, we are very much committed to building technology that can be deployed at scale within large enterprises. So not only we provide models, but also we build platforms and we provide with experts to help large companies integrate AI within their core business processes.
We perfectly understood that efficiency and open source technologies are key in your development. How does Mistral AI ensure secure AI solutions? I mean, how does your data sovereign approach with local data centers and European partnerships address these challenges?
On this GenAI market today, Mistral AI offers the only fully sovereign value proposition. The reason is that we're fully agnostic with the hosting layer when it comes to the infrastructure, which means that our models can run anywhere. It can run in the cloud, they can run on-premise, they even can run on the edge, in a car, in a plane, in a train, wherever. The second thing is that we have been investing heavily in order to build some training capacity for our models in Europe, and hence supporting the development of such an ecosystem. We've partnered with NVIDIA to acquire very large quantities of GPU and to build European AI cloud provider in order to serve all our customers who need sovereignty when it comes to Gen AI.
According to you, what are the main barriers to AI adoption in industry? Are they technological concerns, cost, maybe lack of skills, or distrust of AI itself?
I think it's a mix of various different reasons. I would say, though, that AI adoption is going faster than most of the technologies that we've seen in the past 20 years. It is true, though, that models are not yet at scale in the core business processes of industrial companies. The reason for that is that most companies have started with employee chatbots, which are good for adoption. But when it comes to bringing it into industrial processes, then it's not just about models. It's about having a context engine, developing front ends, having enterprise capabilities for identity and access management, observability, models customization. And this is way more complex than just operating models. And this is the reason why at Mistral, we've been very much focused in the past month to not only build cutting-edge models, but also platforms that can help our large customers to bring AI.
What tangible benefits can industrial players expect from integrating AI into their processes? Can you illustrate with a real-world example?
Sure. AI can help and bring value at any stage of an industrial process, from the design until the final product. It is usually costs savings, operational efficiency, or new revenue generation. As an example, we're working with Veolia in order to make plants smarter by bringing models and connecting them to the whole plant ecosystem, so operators can talk to the plant. We're also working with ASML to reduce the defects of the machines that are producing on their assembly lines, which results in saving costs for them. Eventually, we work also with Stellantis to bring AI into cars. So we've built very tiny models that can be deployed locally on every car to enhance driver experience.
In which way are all those partnerships really essential for industrial players?
Well, I think it is extremely important to understand that the Gen AI transformation is going to take time. Hence, it requires not only cutting-edge technology, but as well as a very deep expertise. And I think those use cases, which are iconic, will help those companies to transform deeply the way they operate. And this is also the spirit of the partnership that we are building with Alten. We at Mistral bring state-of-the-art technology. Alten has over 50,000 engineers around the world, which work at the very core of the large industrial companies. And we think that combination of both is actually the best way for those large companies to address this transformation.
These developments are really fascinating. Thank you very much, Guillaume, for sharing with us your enthusiasm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariane.
So Guillaume has just outlined several obstacles to the adoption of AI by industry, mentioning that the extensive deployment of models in the core business of industrial companies is an open challenge. Would you like to respond to this?
Well, I will just mention the fact that, as Frédéric said at the beginning, technology is not the issue. Just make an example. Each year we have the Stanford University, which issues the so-called AI Index report. And each year we see that from one year to another, the AI capability of reasoning is increasing at a warp speed. And we see that today in tests like MMMU, GPQA, etc., the AI capabilities are at the level of the best human experts. Of course, we have to train them properly, we have to manage chunking, embedding, this technical stuff to make them work properly. But I think that the real challenges are two. The first one is to combine the technology with domain competence. We cannot go in Stellantis or in Veolia and just think that like that we will be able to deploy AI. We need to understand their processes, we need to understand what is needed to make improvements, and to do that we have to raise the knowledge of our engineers about AI to combine domain competence with technological competence.
Frédéric, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think today the models is not the key challenge. Building models, we mentioned Mistral. We are also in partnership with Mistral, so they are at the state of the art. But the problem is not building, but embedding the model in the company, in the ecosystem. In Paris-Saclay, the ecosystem corresponds to 50,000 students, 12,000 employees. So it's kind of
huge.
Big companies. And we saw the difficulty is not in the model. We use the model, but how do we use the model for the employees and for the student? This is the real difficulty. And here, there is a challenge that is really the human. It is a human journey to help people to adapt in the era of AI. That's what we face as the biggest issue today. So not the technology, but really embedding the model in our system and also help people to use them and to have profit with that.
You're right, it's both about humans and return on investments. Gualtiero, what key methodological steps does Alten adopt to transition experimentation into truly profitable industrialization? And how do you do in order to ensure a return on investment for your industrial clients?
I have a question I think is very interesting. We have three main drivers to manage this issue. The first one is that we have set up a number of KPIs which help us to track the adoption and the effectiveness of the AI application and to derive the KPIs to adapt our processes with the adoption of a new technology. Second, we have defined a quite sound methodology which is made of 5 steps. I mean, I'll go through all of them now, but to really start from the analysis to the POC, to the industrialization, to the deployment of AI, going through a number of checks in terms of ethics, in terms of data governance, in terms of security management, which are very important as well. And third things that I will mention is that we work very much in the core engineering activities, which can be application lifecycle management when it comes to software, which can be quality, it can be other aspects when it comes to purchasing, to supply chain, to manufacturing. And we recognize that our customers have some quite similar challenges to face. So we've decided to build a library of so-called accelerators, which are not finished products, but that are artifacts which help us to speed up the presentation of the adoption within our customer and our processes.
You're right, Gualtiero, it's going very, very fast. Caroline, the progress is absolutely incredible. So what do you see as the latest big breakthrough? And with things evolving so fast, how can companies possibly keep up?
Yes, indeed, we're witnessing a very incredible speed in the AI developments. We went from Gen AI to agentic AI in 18 months. We witness a fundamental capability leap within 3-6 months, and major providers for Gen AI are releasing new model every 3 months. So it's hard to cope with that. As major breakthrough, especially for engineers, as we hear today with Alten, I think 3 major breakthroughs are very interesting. The first one is small language model that enable performance at a fraction of the cost and energy as well. Then multimodal reasoning AI is also key for engineer, and And the last one, I forgot the last one.
If you want, while you're thinking about the last one, I can read to you these questions that we just received from one of the people following us. The question is, how are the big AI companies going to tackle the hallucination their models sometimes show? If we are to use AI in the industry as a tool for development, how are we going to be sure that the data, the solutions presented by the AI models are actually true and not pulled out of thin air? Do any one of you want to answer that?
I can start to give some word about that. Actually, hallucination and bias are really a big problem. So I think technology is mature, but we need to continue to work on that. I would say that scientific researchers can work with company to tackle those problems. So we are talking about robustness, and of course, robustness is essential for adoption as explainability. And I think behind the hallucination for people is really how to trust AI. Are we sure that we are...
And it's also about training, because facing these adoption and integration challenges, how must the engineer's profile evolve? This is a real question. So what is the response of higher education to ensure that AI becomes a basic competence regardless of the engineer's specialty? What's your opinion, Frédéric?
Yeah, so at Centrale Supélec, we change really the cursus, the fundamental cursus of engineers. AI is everywhere, so it means that in all part of the cursus there is AI, not only for data scientist engineers, but also engineers working in supply chain, in mechanics, whatever. So we put AI everywhere in the cursus.
AI everywhere, but for lifelong learning, because beyond initial training, there is lifelong learning and executive education programs in order to allow people to remain relevant, up to date, to manage upskilling or career transition. So how do you do that? And I'm thinking, for example, to the custom expert sessions you run for major groups such as Stellantis, such as Thales, such as Safran, especially with rapidly evolving technologies like prompting.
Yeah, so I would say for engineers that's okay, but during the life we have to upskill. I mean, every time, and for that, of course, the key word I would say it's agility. For the training, for the executive education, we need to change our courses from one month to another. So that's exactly what Caroline said. Mm-hmm. Since the technology evolved very quickly, of course, the training tracks need to evolve same speed. So that's what we do. We have, a full catalog of courses from basics AI to agentic AI prompting. So this is the key point, really, agility, flexibility on the contents of AI courses.
Agility indeed to train engineers. Gualtiero, at Alten you have 60,000 engineers globally, if I'm correct. How does a large international group like Alten manage to deploy this AI culture and transform the basic competences for its engineers to programs such as, I think you have a program which is called Prompt Engineering Academy or the Gen AI Academy. How do you address this training issue?
Well, first of all, we must make platforms available to our employees. And when I mean platforms, I mean secure platforms. So as a first step, we are deploying Copilot Chat and Mistral in a secure way to the totality of our employees. On this basis, we have identified a training program. A part of it has already been deployed on the basics of AI and on the typical classic use cases. We are progressing with the Prompt Engineering Academy, which is key for us because it will cover quite a lot of, usages of AI, toward the Agentic AI Academy, which will be addressing those people which will need to use AI in a professional way. For me, the key point is AI is not just for the expert. So our training is not just for 10% of the population which we know will have to use AI in a very extensive and professional way, But AI is like, for me, in the near future, like Excel, like the web. Everybody must be acquainted and use it in a very good way.
That's maybe one of the fears, because training people is good, but we shouldn't scare them. Caroline, you do conferences in many companies, and another big question indeed is how to train people without scaring them, because a lot of employees worry that AI might replace their jobs, when in fact it's really in order to help them, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think we need to empower employees, inspire them about using AI, while also making them like have a sense of responsibility when using AI. Because as you mentioned, so AI basically it's like a super assistant for productivity for employers. So it will take over on every low value repetitive task. So it's super interesting because it gives them in the end way more free time. We're talking about automation of up to 30% of current tasks by 2030. So it gives them a lot of free time to focus on a creative, strategic task, and also like develop their, more human relational skills, empathy, emotional intelligence, which is a new set of skills, I guess, for engineers. But I think that it's super interesting for them.
Before going any further, let's get this question from our audience: how to automate the AI tools to make it more effective and use it as a simple tool for our engineers?
I will take it.
Sure.
I would say that our purpose is not really to automate AI tools. I make an example from a domain in which I have a certain experience, which is testing, quality assurance, computer system validation, the way you want to call it, which is something that in the engineering domain is very much required. We started in building an accelerator in which initially the idea was, with a push of a button from a specification, you get the full list of requirements in accordance to several testing coverage criteria. Then we realized this was not exactly what was needed. So we transformed it more in an assistant, in a copilot for testing. So in each step, there is the possibility for the test designer, for the test manager, to improve, select, tune what the tool produces. So we think that there are two things to be taken into account. First, to deploy AI into the day-by-day activities of engineers, but always keeping human in the loop. So not full automation, this is not what we are looking for.
Since you're talking about humans, the tech and AI world is still very male-dominated. In a previous TechSeat episode, we talked about this, about the overrepresentation of men in engineering. I encourage you to watch the replay of this live. And we talked about the reason why it's so important to bring more women into scientific and technical fields. There are still a lot of stereotypes out there that analytical and rational thinking is somehow male, and that creativity, empathy, and intuition are more female. Caroline, do you think that it is a cultural construct, and do you think the rise of AI could help change that, maybe by putting more value on emotional intelligence and sensitivity?
Yeah, totally. It's a social construct, and it's a cultural construct, and it comes back to Descartes, French philosopher, back in the 17th century, when he made the separation between the mind and the body. And then the association was made that the mind is man, rational, science made for business, and the woman, the body, basically the brain is too linked to the uterus to be able to make business. This is really a strong belief, and the tech industry is amplifying this belief today. When you hear Mark Zuckerberg saying we need more masculine energy, we need aggressive energy in company. But for real, like we both have analytical skills and emotional skills. So we need to go way more towards cognitive diversity rather than talking about gender diversity. And what's interesting with AI, as we just said, is that AI is automating these so-called masculine skills. And now we're looking for soft skills which are said to be feminine. So it's very interesting because we're balancing the collective psyche somehow, and we need to go more toward a hybrid competence for everyone, men and women, technical, rational, analytical, but also human, emotional skills.
Let's hope that artificial intelligence will change this mindset, hopefully. We agreed to focus on ethics and responsible AI. Caroline, what is the impact of new technologies on the common good, and how can we ensure ethical and responsible deployment while navigating the complex European regulatory landscape? Maybe let's start by reminding us the main key challenges.
Yes, we've been talking about them for a long time now, but if we list them very quickly, bias, inequity, inclusion, security, confidentiality and privacy. OpenAI now is facing like a 3 billion lawsuit for using personal data without consent. Reliability, AI is hallucinating, 20% to 40% recently of error right now in output. Environmental impact as well, like the data centers consumption is set to double by 2030, reaching like the equivalent of Japan energy demands today. And of course, sovereignty, because right now we have like 5 US companies that are really dominating the market when it comes to foundational models, for instance. So developing ethical, responsible AI is not negotiable. It should be business standard. It's not an optional. We should not even hesitate to go in that direction.
Let's get this new question. How do you see AI influencing talent strategy, from hiring engineers to developing future-ready technical leaders? Who would like to answer to that?
Well, I can say from our point of view, because we are hiring a lot of people. We are probably one of the biggest hiring companies in Europe. So it is clear that today for us, AI skills are a fundamental part of the curricula of the people that we want to hire, whatever they will do, from fluid engineering to mechanical engineering to software development, whatever, because we think that this is more and more sort of a basic skill that we need to do. And also this goes with the fact that we must train, as Frederic was saying, the existing population in order to upskill. So I think that our technical leader, as it was in the question today, they must be absolutely AI cognizant, but not only cognizant, they must be aware and be able to drive, because the technical leaders of tomorrow and of today, I would say, if they are not aware and be able to master the way to manage AI in their process and in their projects, but they are no longer technical leaders. This is a fact.
This question raises also the issue of responsibility, but you wanted to add something, Frédéric.
Yeah, so I fully agree. For us today, the next leader need to have this core AI competency. But for us, it's also very important that the new engineer, the young engineers, they know that they have to upskill almost every year. I mean, it should be part of the professional life to upskill themselves during all the career, to stay top leaders.
And to upskill not only on technological issues, but also on responsible issues and ethics. So Caroline, how can we talk about responsibility in AI today? And for companies who want to bring more ethics into their approach, how can they actually do that?
So educate, govern, and integrate ethic in business life. So educate, obviously upskilling, we've been talking about it a lot, but we need to build like a ethical AI muscle within companies for everyone, not only tech leaders, everyone from marketing, legal, ops, etc. Then govern. So we need clear governance that will ensure ethical and safe deployment of AI. So it includes, for instance, cross-functional AI ethical committees that will define those ethical norms, define risk assessment steps, and different mechanisms to control regular auditing, feedback loops. And then integrate. We need to do ethic by design. We need to embed ethical principle into product, fairness and accountability, transparency. We need to build also automated tool for risk monitoring when it comes to fairness, bias, privacy, that are really into AI pipelines.
Talking about ethic by design, these questions arrive at the right moment. From your perspective, what are the most common mistakes leaders make when trying to apply AI to improve business performance? I
would say there is a hype around AI, so everyone wants to put AI everywhere. but sometimes we forget about the real pain point, the real needs of departments. So this needs to come first, and sometimes AI is not always the answer. And the second aspect, we were discussing about it earlier, it's not always about business performance. It's also about social responsibility performance, mental health, CSR. Right now, those topics are super hot and important topic in companies. So how we can use responsible AI also to serve the value and the impact, social, environmental impact of companies.
I may comment on this just to make an example of how at Elten we are addressing this kind of topics. First of all, we have set up a clear governance scheme with a CIO, which is reporting directly to the CEO of the group, and with a number of ambassadors in each country, which take the duty to deploy in each and every business unit things. And what is more important is that we have issued and we continue to issue rules which are not meant to, let's say, to hinder the usage, but rather to make a responsible usage of AI. We are certifying our rules in accordance to ISO 42000, which is the emerging standard on these topics. And we have a specific stream which is dedicated to the impact of AI in terms of corporate social responsibility, from human factors to carbon footprint, because we don't have to forget that to feed the beast, we need such an amount of energy that most hyperscalers in the US are building their own nuclear plant. So also in terms of frugality, which is something that Mistral mentioned at the very beginning, and the usage of the most appropriate models for what it really takes, for us is a very important matter.
Yeah, I want to add something because I found the question very, very interesting, is how to apply AI. I think we have to change the perspective. It's not how to apply AI, it's how to rethink the business process in the era of AI, including, of course, frugality, including ethics, all these aspects we already discussed. So it's really, we are here now. It's not a new technology we are going to apply on this process, this one. It's really how to rethink the company at the edge.
How to rethink it. And Gualtiero, you mentioned the rules, you mentioned the standards. So let's switch to the issue of sovereignty and independence. With regard to US-centric foundational models, how should Europe address this? I don't know.
I mentioned the dominance of US company when it comes to a foundational model, but it's not only a problem of sovereignty with models, it's also for Europe a problem of sovereignty when it comes to chips, when it comes to cloud infrastructure. So it's a very complex problem, and the question is shall we try to catch up, or shall we try to go another way? It's hard to answer. I don't have the answer for that. Recently, there was Europe announced the AI Continent Action Plan, which is a very ambitious plan with 200 billion on the table, which is now, we're talking real money now, but it's still not enough. When you think that Meta last year spent 40 billion, Microsoft is spending 80 billion this year in data centers, so 200 billion is still not enough somehow. And also the plan is really scattered. I think we need to build strategic resilience rather than thinking dependency. So we need, I think, to pick up our battle. We have strong asset in industry, embedded AI, what I call purpose, impact-oriented AI for climate change, for science. And we need to be super, super dominant on a few layers. Maybe also increase the effort on open source. Mistral mentioned it. Hugging Face as well, French company is doing an amazing job at proof that it can be a competitive advantage. Maybe think about consolidation as well. Instead of building 20 AI factories, shall we maybe consolidate and have 3 hyperscale data centers? And also regulation, it's an asset, I think. We should see it also as a business weapon. Maybe have a fast track access for European companies, make it a bit more complex for outside company, building certification enterprise as well to help external companies to get in the US market. I think we need to be a bit more aggressive in a feminine way.
Interesting perspective. Let's get one last question. Do you think AI adoption should come from inside companies by training staff on AI possibilities, analyzing needs, and smart make or buy strategies?
Yeah, I just want to say one. I think it should come from inside, because right now companies sometimes they want to externalize this. They're going to build an AI muscle outside using consultancy, and I think it's a very big mistake. It needs to be internalized and through learn and mistake as well process, but it needs to be inside.
You wanted to add something, Frédéric?
Yeah, I think collaborators should be involved in the training, all the training tracks, because I mean, we don't have all answers. I think this is the purpose.
You mean in a co-construction perspective?
Yes,
or, yeah?
and also on what is important for them. Of course, we talk about ethics, ethic by design. It's something very important, and many people are scared about AI. So they need to be involved in the process of upskilling and understanding what is AI. How can AI help them? And I think they are the best person to say that.
I would make a very pragmatic example. When we started our CIO office in Alten, the first thing we did was not to sit in a room and to try to define a top-down strategy, but was to go through the company and to find out what people had already developed in a bottom-up way. And we found very brilliant things that when we decided to bring at a company level, because we think that the more we take things which are born from real needs, which come from the field, the more effective they will be.
Thank you. Time flies and it's time for closing remarks. So I'd like to ask you a final words to conclude this really fascinating exchange. Let's start with you, Caroline, if you want.
I will say that we should not be afraid of AI. AI is not going to replace a job. Someone that masters AI better than us might replace our job. So we need to embrace it fully, get educated. I think this is the key word of the day, education, and be inspired as well, like innovate with intent.
Frédéric?
Intention.
Yeah, we'll start from education. So without education, knowledge, there's no trust. Without trust, no adoption. And
You're right.
we are talking about adoption. Without adoption, no impact, no...
It's a virtuous or vicious circle, depending on the perspective. Yeah. Thank you. Last word, Gualtiero?
I would say simply that I think it's clear for everybody that AI is the new revolution, that we have to embark on it, and that we are just at the beginning of a fascinating path that we want to bring on with our customer and especially with our engineers.
Thank you very much for joining us for this fourth edition of Take a Seat Broadcast Live to LinkedIn. Thank you to all of you, to our experts for this really insightful exchange. We sincerely hope that the international discussion has provided clarity on the path forward, emphasizing that success in AI depends on effective, ethical, and widespread adoption and education, as you mentioned. And remember, you can watch the replay of this conference on alten.com. We wish you a very good day. Thank you.